From the 1980s to the 1990s, the drug epidemic cost millions of lives and billions of dollars. The use of crack cocaine exploded on the streets of South Central Los Angeles, increasing violence and crime all over the city. The incarceration rate increased as the homicide rate grew exponentially. The decade of dreams actually began over 40 years ago with Pastor Tommy Barnett to reach the lost and broken of Los Angeles. This dream flowed over into a young man named Matthew Barnett,
It's not about us, it's about helping others while you hurt.
who wanted to love and serve people who were hurting.
Jesus was the example of this. Whenever the pain was strongest in Jesus' life, he served the most.
Matthew noticed the old, vacant Queen of Angels Hospital in Echo Park, and he saw his father's dream could become a reality. This was only the beginning. Welcome to the Dream Center.
Hello, I'm Matthew Barnett of the Los Angeles Dream Center. Since 1994, when I came to the city of Los Angeles at 20 years of age, we have been fighting a fight right here in the heart of Los Angeles, dealing with issues of homelessness and poverty and human trafficking and brokenness. Every day in the halls of this building, lives are being transformed. People ask the question, they say, well, where do you have to go to find a miracle? I say, well, just walk through the halls of this building. You'll see lives transformed every single day. Can you imagine what it'd be like to be on a place like this every day where you see people showing up with sometimes nothing but just a little bag with whatever they have left, or families that are in a car with their little children begging for one night to stay, and yet having the doors open to an entire year where they can be changed? That's what the Dream Center is all about. Not just a 30-day program to get people off the street. It's a place to get people into their destiny, into their future, and into their potential. That's what happens here every day, 24/7, in the heart of the Dream Center. Right behind me is the Hollywood sign that talks about fame and fortune and money and being noticed. Well, underneath the Hollywood sign, there's a place called the Dream Center where people have been forgotten, left behind, nowhere to go. Today, you're going to hear the story about a beautiful woman named Sarah. I've come to know this lady through many brokenness and through many tears, through a prison system that even had nothing to do with her, nowhere to go. She showed up at the Dream Center, she started the journey, and right here in the halls of this building, a beautiful person like Sarah, who had been kicked to the curb, left behind, nowhere to go, started a brand new adventure. I want to show you that adventure, and it starts right here when you walk through the halls of the Dream Center and you see the future unfold for so many. Come and take a look. I'm standing on one of the floors of our women's recovery program at the Dream Center that we call Discipleship, a one-year program where lives can truly be changed. Many times people come into a program for 30 days and just long enough maybe to get off of drugs or maybe to get clean. But this is a program where God's Word transforms people. But the good news is they're here for a reason. They're rebuilding their lives. They're going forward. And they're doing wonderful things with their life. It's not always easy. It's difficult. As a matter of fact, many of these ladies come through brokenness. People like Sarah that you're about to meet. Right from the beginning of life, she experienced great loss. And then she began to look out into the world to try to find her refuge, to try to find her happiness. And it took her to some really dark places in life. Some places that left her discouraged, abandoned, broken, and abused. But it is there where she started a brand new life at the Dream Center. It was at that point, rock bottom, is when her life is rebuilt. We believe that God doesn't destroy people in rock bottom. He rebuilds people in rock bottom. And right here from rock bottom, from the prison system alone, who literally drove her from the Twin Towers prison to the Dream Center, is where Sarah started the road to recovery. Listen to her story.
So my name is Sarah Ledger. I'm 36. I'm from San Pedro, California. Growing up, my mom was very abusive in every shape and form. My father was abusive to my mother. He broke my mother's jaw. She had to have her jaw wired. He was in and out of prison. My mother turned to a raging alcoholic, which she was emotionally, physically, and mentally abusive towards me. She would go to the bars and get drunk, and then she would come home and take it out on me. And she would always tell me I was fat, I was not good enough, that I would never amount to nothing. One night when she was going to the bars, she left me with this man who got drunk himself, put a knife to my throat, tried to get me to drink alcohol at the age of 10, and he sexually started to touch me. I ran out and I let the lady that was managing the apartments, I let her know. She called the cops right away. Well, when my mom came home, she blamed me for everything. They took me into custody, into Children's Services, which my mom left me there. She never came to get me. So I went from foster home to foster home, from city to city, from group home to group home, from family member to family member. By this time, I was already angry, abandoned, just lost. In a group home that I was in, I ended up meeting my first love. Every group home I went to, I would run away to go be with him. He's the one who got me started on the drugs. Going to different group homes and different foster homes, knowing, getting to know different people, having to start all over again. It was kind of hectic, and then I was so rebellious at the time, and I was so angry. As soon as I would get there, I would end up going to another one because I would end up fighting or doing something stupid, so where they would want me out of the home. By the time I was 13, I started using drugs. I started hanging out with the gang members, started dating drug dealers. My habit increased and got worse. At 21, I had my first son. At 22, I had my second son. At the age of 25, I ended up doing my first prison term. I got into fraud really bad, selling drugs really bad, just running the streets, running the lifestyle that I knew, from growing up. By the time I was 27, I got shot when I was 4 months pregnant with my son, Matthew. If the bullet would have went in an inch more, it would have penetrated my heart. I ended up having my son in county jail because I got arrested. By the time I was 21, I found my father. When I got out, I ended up getting in contact with him again, and he's like, "What happened to you?" And I was like, "Well, I went back to prison." He's like, "I kind of figured that." So I was telling him that, I'm kind of homeless. I have my kids, and I don't have nowhere to go. And he's like, "Well, you could come stay with me and my wife." He was a cross-country truck driver, so we went on a drive together, and we ended up talking, and I asked him, why, the whys and how comes, and, the things that, a little girl wants to know, why her dad wasn't there. And we ended up hashing that out. We had a great relationship because I found out that he was saved. He was doing the Christian walk, and he changed his life. He was my hero, if he could get his life together, I know I could get my life together after all these years. My stepmom ended up getting my kids while I did my prison term. I got out when my son was 2 years old. I was getting my life together. I was clean. My dad found out he had pancreas cancer, so he wanted me to come home. So I left the program, went home, watched him basically die because he ended up dying within 10 months. By this time, I was pregnant with my 5th son, and I didn't know what to do because that was my world, My stepmom ended up giving my kids to the system. My world was just turned upside down within 24 hours. I just went off the deep end, Started using drugs, really heavy during my pregnancy. Started going back to the abusive relationships, putting needles in my arms. Me and my aunt were trying to get, go into court and trying to get my kids back. My aunt Googled the lady's name that had my kids, and came out that she had child abandonment charges, child endangerment charges. We kept telling the social worker, and the social worker was like, "No, they're fine, nothing's wrong." 8 months of fighting in Riverside County, I ended up getting my kids back. But that lady called the social worker and said that I went to court with 7 carloads of gangbangers and drug dealers. So the same night, they opened up a case and they took my kids away within 24 hours again. Because I was getting close to my due date, I knew I didn't want my son to go into the system. Me and my kid's dad, we would fight a lot. Cracked all my ribs when I was pregnant, dislocated my thumb, broke my nose. He would like chase me down the street with a shovel when I'm like 6 months pregnant. You know, I'm running from him. That's when I decided that I was gonna give up my son for adoption. So I ended up talking to a friend who had given her twins up for adoption, and she was still in contact with a lawyer. I chose a really good family. They were Christians, and at the time I didn't know. I seen them and I met them. I just knew in my heart that they were the right ones. After that, me and my kid's dad were fighting one day, and I ended up getting a hotel room to, you know, get some rest and try to get off the drugs before I ended up having my son. Well, a friend of mine let another friend of mine in, and he ended up raping me. I had blood everywhere. Like, I really didn't know if the baby was gonna stay or if I was gonna lose him. I ended up telling my son's father and a couple other people, and they ended up going after the guy, ran him out of town. Right before I went into labor, I called the family and let them know that, you know, I was going to labor. We went to the hospital together. I let her name my son. I let her experience everything firsthand. It took me like 3 days to even go and see the baby. My kid's dad came in, he's like, have you gone to see the baby? I was like, no, I don't want you to, you know, it's already hard enough. He's like, get up. And we went into the hospital room and I ended up holding my son. We ended up talking to the family, you know, like ever since then, like they've been my #1 fans, you know, they've supported me ever since. After I had him and they ended up taking him, I was still with my abusive kid's dad. I was still gangbanging. I was still using needles to cope every day, you know, to numb my pain. I did a lot of credit card fraud and a lot of in and out of prison. You know, I did 15 years in and out, 23 years of meth addiction. The guys that I ended up going out with were really abusive. They got violent because that's the only way that I felt like that they loved me, you know, like because my mom put hands on me and I thought, well, she loved me and that's the way she should love. I had black eye after black eye, been choked out till I fainted. One of them hit me in the head with a baseball bat. I ended up in ICU, not knowing who I was, where I was, with blood on my brain, with 2 black eyes, another broken nose. My face looked like the Elephant Man. Shortly after that, I ended up getting arrested again. But this time, when I got arrested, I knew something had to change. I knew something inside of me had to change. I didn't want to keep going back to that lifestyle, but I didn't know how to get out of the lifestyle. And putting my kids through the same thing that that my mom put me through, like I just didn't want to do it no more. You know, like I didn't have it in me to let my kids down one more time. Like they didn't deserve that. You know what I mean? And that's what the thing got me the most and hurt me the most, is because I was doing the same thing that was done to me. I wanted to break that cycle, and I didn't know how.
You know, it's unbelievable to hear Sarah's testimony and the level of abuse and pain that this precious woman had to go through in her life. I can only imagine, as I'm watching her story, the overwhelming fear and confusion that Sarah must have felt as a child growing up and being abused by someone she trusted and hoped to protect her, and Sarah's past of neglect that led her to believe that brokenness was all that she deserved or even worthy of. So she sought people like herself who continue the unhealthy cycle of relationship that many times we get caught into. But what Sarah and many of us today need to remember is that even if we are without people or parents who love us, and many people given up on us, God is our Father. And unlike many people we encounter in life, He won't fail us. Despite our mistakes and our pain and all the things we've done, God knows us deeply and He sees us as His beautiful creations. Jesus offered His life so that we can have peace, freedom, and healing in all the broken places of our heart. He restores our souls. In Psalms chapter 103 and verse 2, it says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and not to forget all of his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and with mercy. In 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 24, it says, he himself bore our sins on his body on that tree, that we might die to sin and live in righteousness. And by his wounds, you have been healed. For so many years now, I've had a front row seat to the redemption and the restoration of so many lives, and it never gets old. I never get weary in seeing this. When you hear about Sarah's life and what she had to go through and the struggle and the odds that were so unbelievable, but it's not impossible for God to turn those circumstances around. Our God is a God of second chances. He's also the God of third chances, or however many it takes. He believes in us, wants to see us restored. Discouraged, broken, abandoned, and abused, Sarah hit rock bottom. But as we always say here, God doesn't destroy people at rock bottom. He rebuilds them. And that's exactly what he has done in her life. Will you join us today to help a young woman like Sarah, or a young man who have experienced adversity in their lives and brokenness, who many of them have had to start off at a very, very far back place in their life, dealing with drugs and issues in their life that had been put upon them when they were young, been surrounded by it. But would you help someone like Sarah know that even though she's in that situation, she could be healed? We need you. We can't do without you. By supporting the Dream Center, you are providing shelter, counseling, mentoring, education, and a way forward in biblical teaching for so many people just like Sarah. This is the way that we help others, because when the Word of God comes to life, people come to life. Please join us by calling in and supporting someone just like Sarah, who needs an opportunity. Now let's watch the conclusion of Sarah's incredible story.
So when I got sentenced, I asked them for a program, I asked them for everything, and they just denied me on everything. They sent me to Twin Towers, and a friend that I knew was there. You know, I just was in my cell one day and I just broke down crying, and she's like, Sarah, if you really want to change your life, start coming to church with me. And I was like, well, what is God gonna do for me? You know, like he hasn't been there for me. Just come to church with me, trust me. So I started going to church with her once a week. Andy Smith and Sylvia Ramos would come in faithfully, and they would come in and we'd have church services, and they would, you know, speak on the Dream Center and speak on their testimonies and speak about God. And then in my cell, you know, me and my bunkie, we would read the Bible. She would read the Bible to me and explain it to me so like I would get a better understanding. Something like just clicked. I don't know if it was God or the Holy Spirit, but like I knew that this is what I wanted. And I know my way wasn't gonna change me. So if this is what's gonna change me, then this is what I'm gonna go for, and I'm gonna go full force for it. She's like, if you really want to change your life, fill out an application to go to the Dream Center. And I said, well, what is it about? You know, she's like, it's a faith-based one-year program. I was like, okay. So I filled it out, and through Andy, she came in, and she would come in, and we would talk every week when she would come in. She arranged it for me to have transportation because I was supposed to get out on a Sunday. She made it so where I could get out on a Friday. So I told her, if you don't have transportation, there's no way I'm gonna make it. You know, I just know myself. So she had transportation there waiting for me. This time I don't feel like I got arrested. I feel like I got rescued because they got me out of my mess, and I came to the Dream Center. When I first got here, I didn't trust nobody. I had major walls up. I hated women because of my mom. It's crazy because God placed my cousin here that I haven't seen in 16 years. She was on bed rest and she wasn't supposed to be talking, and then that day I was gonna leave. I was like, this place is not for me. There's a bunch of squares here, like they don't understand my lifestyle. We ran into each other, and you know, like she helped me stay in, because I think God knew that I was gonna leave, and he orchestrated that. Like I didn't worship, I didn't know anything about the Bible, I didn't know anything about God, I didn't know anything about the music. So every time we would go to devotions or go to church, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this almost over? I called my kids and told them, you know, I'm at a program. Well, they didn't want nothing to do with me. They said, well, too bad, you know, like I've already done enough damage to them. My son Jesse said, how can my mom love us if she can't even love herself? You know, and that like really got to me. Like, he's right. Like, how do I love them if I can't love myself? But then one day when Pastor Matthew was having an altar call talking about shame, guilt, pain, and resentment, I felt like he was talking to me, you know what I mean? And I went down and like, I just dropped to my knees. I'm like, God, just take all this. If you are real, just show me and just take all this pain and everything that I've been carrying for so long, because I don't want to carry it no more. Just, I want to be happy. I want to be loved. I want to feel love. I want to, be able to love others. I want to be able to love myself. And that night, like, I just cried out to him. And I think that was my turning point, because ever since then, like, I really opened my heart and like, I'm on fire, you know what I mean, for God. Like I read my Bible like every day, like no matter what time, I try to find time and just sit down and just, if it's a chapter or if it's a couple of scriptures. The next chapter in my life is I want to be a drug and alcohol counselor, and I'm able to reach other girls that people can't reach, because I've gone through that pain. I realize it and I know how I walk through it. I've been clean for 2 years, and like I wake up every day just knowing that I don't have to put a needle in my arm, and I don't have to put a pipe in my mouth, or I don't have to wake up to that abusive relationship. You know what I mean? Like I wake up and I automatically pray to God, and and thank Him, for the second chance that He's given me in my life. I'm about to graduate, and I love life today. I have hope, I have dreams, I have goals. God's restored my kids back to me. They came to see me last weekend. The kids I gave up for adoption are coming to my graduation. I get to talk to them every weekend. It's just amazing on what God can do, and what He's been doing for me in my life. Who's ever gone through something like me, or who feels like they can't get out, don't give up. Don't walk out those doors, and fully surrender, fully open your heart to God, because once you let Him in, there's no turning back. I tell the girls, He didn't bring us here by accident. He brought us here for a purpose and for His purpose. Coming to the Dream Center was the best choice and best decision I could have made in my life, because God has totally changed me. Like I am not the same person I was when I walked in through those doors. And by Him giving me a second chance and being able to, talk to the girls and be able to, just give my testimony to people that come through the Dream Center is amazing. Like all that pain and heartache and things that I had to endure, God's using it for His glory, and that's the best part.
How amazing is our God? Over the past few months, I have watched Sarah transform from a broken and hurting woman to a loving mother overflowing with hope, looking forward with expectation to the future that God has for her and for her children. The strength of God is so real in her life, and it's revealed in so many lives of the people here at the Dream Center. Sarah came to this place directly from prison with the odds stacked against her. But our God overcomes all odds, and now He has restored Sarah, giving her a dream and a vision for a better life, as she gives others a better life. Sarah's hope is to become a counselor for young people and encourage them in the same situation that she was in, to be loved and guided through some of the biggest challenges in life. Some challenges that are so big, we oftentimes call people a statistic. She's taken her past, though, and turning them into something beautiful and impactful and with a purpose and a destiny. And her life has been transformed, and so she now wants to go out and rebuild others. And with your help, the Dream Center can continue to offer a hope and a second chance to other people like Sarah, who not only get helped, they create a brand new cycle, a cycle of transformation that never stops reproducing itself over and over again. Our God is that great. He can take us out of pain, and He can put us into a place where we can make a difference. He can use something that may have led us down a dark path in life and turn it into a glorious light into someone else's path. He knows our hearts, He knows our past, He knows the filth, He knows the garbage, but He doesn't judge us on any of that. Instead, He takes all those things and He uses them for His glory. You look at someone like Sarah and you think to yourself, wow, what an amazing story of this young lady. But the story's not over yet. She continues to flourish because of wonderful people like you who get behind this vision and support the Dream Center. Gives incredible people that watch from all over America, that are sitting in their living rooms, that take the time and the effort to make a contribution to the Dream Center to make a difference. Why don't you go to the phone right now and make that phone call? Go to that website right now and make that donation, and be a part of Sarah's story. Be a part of the continual unfolding of a life that's being transformed. Don't delay. Go to that phone right now and make a difference, because at the Dream Center, you are seeing the glory of God being revealed. We could do something in a very tangible way to extend the hand of God from where you are now to the city of Los Angeles. And would you please consider partnering together with the Dream Center, becoming a dedicated supporter of our organization by making a difference by giving and supporting this ministry go forward. In fact, we'd love for you to come to the Dream Center and come to this campus and meet Sarah and see the cycle of change that is going on because of her love. Thank you for watching and thank you for supporting the Dream Center. We need you. Please join us next week for another powerful story full of hope and transformation, and you will continue to see how your support impacts the lives of so many people. Come and see what God is doing right here at the Dream Center.